Welcome, everyone. I'm Sergeant Chelsea Baker.
And I'm Specialist David Erskine.
And today we have Captain Cody Denson, and he is the Deputy Director for Public Affairs. So welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, not only is he Deputy Director, but he's also one of our supervisors. Yay!
And he's also the commander of the 108th Public Affairs Detachment.
You got a lot going on, man.
Two full-time jobs. Gotta stay busy.
Never ending.
But along with that, and we'll just kind of jump in right into it as far as jobs and stuff go. You came from the community relations side of the public affairs world. People think, when we say public affairs, they're like, oh, that's pictures and video, but there's much more involved in public affairs than
Whole
just
other side.
Podcasts and whatever else. Tell us a little bit about our actual community relations program. I guess why we have it, why it's important, stuff like that.
Well, so all the states in the National Guard have community relations. Active duty component does, reserve component. We all have it. We have to hit it a little more heavily than a lot of the active duty units, though, because we're in the community and we activate it for state missions. So we have to have a visual presence throughout our entire state, right? So we go to schools and parades and large events, and sometimes we have our own even that people come to. So the importance is that we are embedding ourselves in the community, showing that, hey, we are a part of this community. We're not just working for the state. We're not some random people living here. We're a part of the community. We live here with you. And so we've been doing that for, since we've had a community relations program years and years before I even got into the military. And we have a pretty big following, actually, I'd say, compared to a lot of other states. Since I came from another state, I've seen other states kind of how they operate. We get a lot of calls, and we go out to a lot of stuff. It's not just recruiting events. It's career fairs that showcase, what we can do. So we go out there, and we have vehicles, static displays, people go and talk about it, all sorts of random stuff like that, right? The air show that we had back in the day, that was a community relations event.
Now, we say this when we throw around, we have all this stuff, and we go out to these places. It's not like we have a yard out here sitting with trucks and stuff just waiting for community relation events, right?
Not at all. No.
It's not just pick up a phone and say, hey, can y'all have a HEMT down here by noon?
Yeah, that would be really nice. No. So, and that's part of why we have our website actually lays out some of the, how to go about requesting stuff, because we have to reach out to all the units that we have throughout the state. So if you're in the upstate, we're going to try and call a unit in the upstate that's nearby and has people ready to go. It all depends on if they have personnel ready, if they've got extra training hours that they can have someone go out, if they have the vehicles out and ready to go, if they're not deployed, if the vehicles aren't at a training site somewhere else. So we have to coordinate all these pieces of manpower, equipment, any funds that have to be moved around to move equipment around. Some units don't have their equipment with them. Some of them have them here at McCready over in Eastover. So they would have to come get their stuff and then take it somewhere else, stage it, have it ready to go. Good example of that's the Columbia Veterans Day Parade. We get some big equipment usually in there. We usually have a tank, a paladin, some big items, and those units don't have them at their unit. And so you have to coordinate getting all of them to get people and then get them here. And those people have civilian jobs, so they might not be able to be ready.
I was about to say that. A lot of the times the people who come out to these events aren't necessarily the full-time staff. It's the M-Day people who have been brought in additionally for this duty outside of their 1 weekend a month, as it were.
Well, and that limits your pool even more, because not only is it just the M-Day force, it's the ones who are particularly licensed on those vehicles. So
that just limits it down further and further down. And
right? So you have to find someone who has free time, who is licensed, can do it, and it takes quite a bit of time.
Yeah, but ultimately it boils down. We do it for the microphone to stay in the upright position, but for the citizens of the state of South Carolina, because they do, and that's something else to keep in mind, that y'all aren't getting like demilled model equipment. Like, this is actual equipment that we use.
It's what we train with. Sometimes we deploy with. Like,
this is our real stuff that we bring out and showcase and interact in the community. Now, we kind of talked about and kind of touched around it a little bit, but why is it important to have that community piece? Other than the fact that we just live here, which is obviously a big deal because we are part of the community. But outside of that, why is it important to have this interaction?
Well, being an asset to the state, we have to build that relationship because we we work with a lot of state agencies. So a lot of times, like, there's a public event, so we'll work with these state agencies, and it builds those bonds. So we get connections to people in different departments throughout the state, because we are a state asset as well. So the communication between us, and in the future we can call that person and be like, hey, what's going on here? One of the bigger aspects, though, is for our DISCA missions. So whenever there's like a hurricane or a flood, whatever they decide to throw it as that year, the community is already used to seeing these people, the vehicles that show up. They know what's going on, so they know what we look like and who we are, and they're more willing to work with us, and us with them as well, because now we have that bond already in place. It could be kind of jarring, I guess, if you randomly saw a large military vehicle with people jumping out of it, rolling down your street, and you don't know what's going on, but they're there to help you. And so this builds that initial relationship. And also that some of these people have now been to these places. So the soldiers and the airmen driving out to these locations know where to go as well.
Now they're familiar with it. I was kind of sitting here thinking as you were talking, and we've kind of hit the word a couple times, and I don't know if we've ever just come out and said it, but, we talk about public affairs as a whole, and, we're kind of the outlet, and we do a lot of showcasing the military to the public, both South Carolina and nationally. But we kept using a kind of word there, and it kind of started sticking in my head, but it's bond. And really that's maybe at the essence, that's what public affairs really does, is we facilitate a bond between our military or our state military department components, more specifically South Carolina National Guard, and our community. Yeah. Because just outside of just the community relations, obviously we present content like this for public consumption. We do the Flickr and YouTube and DVIDS and all that stuff out there. But then outside of that, we also work a lot with the community partners in the State House and the legislators and things like that for events for South Carolina, both to highlight the South Carolina National Guard and highlight the citizens that support the South Carolina National Guard, like the employment
opportunity,
EGSR,
ESGR.
ESGR. There you go. That's why we bring the big guns in, folks. Big guns in for this event. But yeah, and public affairs does have a large piece involved in that. Yeah.
Yeah. The employment department and the service member family care department, they put on a large event last year where employers came out to Shaw, and I coordinated the community relations aspect of getting all of our vehicles and stuff out to that flight line. And hang on, I'm probably using improper terminology because I'm not very good in the aviation world.
Okay. We'll give them a break, people. Air Guard folks, just hold the comments. Hold the comments.
I got the vehicles there. Well, no, I did the paperwork to get them there. But yeah, so we work hand in hand because they have a more specific grab into the community, right? Because they're getting people employed. They're talking directly to employers, and they're building an even deeper network than we do sometimes, I think, because they're literally placing people in companies inside the state.
Yeah.
And so when they're having events to honor those relationships and bonds, again, that they've made, then we were able to come with them, put on a display for these people, show them, hey, thanks for everything that you've given us, and everything that we're trying to work with you. Here's a show for you. And it was a really good event.
And you talked about that, and you kind of mentioned the paperwork side for public affairs. I think a lot of times people think of public affairs as more of kind of reactionary type situation, like news stories. Once again, kind of going back to the photo and video side of things, where something's happening, like quick, get a photo, video person out there to capture this moment. But there really is a lot of procedures, processes, and planning that goes into public affairs as a whole.
There is, and it's always evolving too. So like now, there's coordinating with multiple different directorates throughout the National Guard, having to get signatures from, this person, and this person, going to all these other shops, making sure that, they're actually tracking how to move vehicles, making sure they're okay with training assets and funds, and coordinating a lot of stuff. That's typically, we ask for that 90 days in advance for any Comrail event, because we need some buffer space to actually.
And we're not always the people who okay it. Sometimes it has to go out of the state depending on what you're actually asking for.
No, that's true. And a lot of stuff, if our equipment's not here, we have to try and find a substitute. So if we, like right now, we don't have many tanks that are available for these kind of events. And so if they're wanting something like that, it's like, well, we can't do that. We can't fulfill your request. So now I need to work with that person to alter, will you accept this? If I can, can we make this work? Will this work? And so there's a lot of like negotiating that can go on for some events. And obviously there's some events that we can't participate in. We have our own set of rules and regulations as well. We can't bring, a helicopter to someone's birthday party. That's not a thing.
Well, that was my request, but I guess that's not going to get approved this year.
You're not the only person to request it, actually.
All right. Yeah, and we kind of touched on something else there, and obviously, once again, we go back to the fact that we interact with the public. But a lot of times, the things we do, and not to say that other areas in the South Carolina National Guard don't have to interact with public and civilian authorities and things like that on a regular basis, but we're definitely knee deep in it. So we're constantly pulled between making sure everything's met on the military side of things and things are okay with whatever regulations the civilian authorities may have as we, roll a tank through Columbia for the Veterans Day parade.
Exactly, and for that they have there's usually an officer that we have to coordinate with and just be like, hey, this is what we're bringing. Are you going to block off part of the road? Do you want to escort our stuff? We've got something large that's going to probably take up a lane and a half. How can we work with you?
And so that's a unique situation to be in because kind of constantly torn between two worlds and you're taking maybe plug A and plug C and trying to find the adapter B that basically fits the two together. Wow, that was a good electrical type thing. I came up with
feel
that
so much
completely
smarter.
on the fly anyway. But yeah, basically that's what a lot of public affairs stuff does. And I've mentioned this before about public affairs officers. They get in the nitty gritty. Not to say that other officer career fields don't, but generally enlisted in the officers in the public affairs world, we wind up working extremely close together. Where y'all are dealing with a lot of planning and movement, and we're part of that piece, moving and stuff. And a lot of times we have to understand what y'all are doing, and y'all have to understand what we're doing. More importantly. What's that been like for you? Because you weren't always public affairs.
No, so I'm technically a 19 series. So Armor World, more on the scouts than the tanks, but I mean we got to dabble in both. So there's differences because the mission is very different. It's because we are that community bridge. So it's not just I get an op order, I've got a mission to run. We plan it, we rehearse it. We can go knock it out. It's this entity who follows an entirely different set of rules has requested something of us, and I need to get me and my small team to be able to make this happen. I mean, and so there's parallels there, but it's also very different because you're not just playing by your rules anymore. You're having to adapt to someone else's rules. It's nothing you can plan for in advance because you don't know they're saying, hey, I'm going to need this, and I'm going to need 5 vehicles, a water buffalo, I need a helicopter, and I need 2 of your people there to take a picture of it. It's like, okay, well, who are you? What am I allowed to do over there? What do you want from us, really? You've said items, but what product do you really want out of this? Yeah. And so it is a very different world, whereas, in a scout platoon, when I was a platoon leader, it was like, all right, here's our mission.
Go.
This team is going to be doing this. This team's going to do this. Here's our capabilities. We know that, and that's how far we can go with that. But this is I have to learn everyone else's capabilities. What units have what around here, where my people, if you don't live here in Columbia, you live somewhere upstate, right? I have to be all right, that person can go up there and coordinate that piece or can go take photos of that. It's a little bit of a different game because it's not just in the field. The state is our field.
Yeah. Different. The pond got bigger all of a sudden for some reason. Now I'm gonna take a moment here to give a quick nod because we kind of tap dance around a little bit. There's a reason that the JAG office is right down the hallway from public affairs
and chaplain.
And chaplain. Outside of us being special staff, we do work hand in hand a lot with those groups, and the JAG office obviously helps us out a a good bit on some of these questions because we're not always the legal experts on them.
I've definitely brought a request to a couple of the JAG officers and be like, I don't know about this. I need you to tell me if we can do this.
Right.
And they've taken, we have, rules and regulations, and we've been like, hey, can you read ours? Can you go through our AR? Because we need you to know what we're coming to ask you because we're going to come with a lot of weird questions. As simple as, can we serve this item? Can we bring soldiers to, usher people at an event? No, we can't because of our regulations and what we're told from our hires. So it's like you have to have that JAG sometimes, and sometimes people don't believe what we say. So we're like, all right, here is our actual, the lawyer field, the legal field in the Guard
Black and white.
telling you that, no, we can't.
These people are trained in this type of thing. So, and more to that point is basically there is a lot, once again, that goes into public affairs. It's not just run out, snap a quick photo and video. Sometimes it is. Yeah. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. Sometimes that is.
But typically, if you think it's as easy as you think it is, more than likely there's more behind the scenes that needs to go into it than you really think.
And that's the same for any branch.
Yeah.
What's the stereotype? An infantryman, you drop them in a battlefield and they go and do the mission. They they pull
scatter.
Triggers. They whatever. But there's a lot more behind it than that. They all have their own specific career, career field. Jobs are all different. Some might do this, some might do that. Someone had to plan this. They probably got medics attached to the unit. There's so much more behind it, and it's the same thing with us.
It's just that we're that good at it. It looks easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
That's
have
just the state of South Carolina.
Yeah. I guess. But we have to. We always have to.
Yes, we're awesome.
I know. You used to tell everybody all the time.
I know.
You have to repeat it.
Yeah, I know.
The more you say it, the more real it is, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. We're just we're that awesome. A little bit of state pride, nothing wrong with that. They have transplant state pride.
Yeah, but I've been here I've been here most of my life. So.
And he just likes it here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I needed to get away from somewhere else and come somewhere a few hours down the road.
Yeah. Well, sir, I know you got a busy day. I appreciate you stopping by for these few moments to kind of go over this. Comrail stuff's out there, like you mentioned, our website, seguard.ng.mil.
And it's not just for people listening to know. If you are in the Guard and you're a full-timer at a unit, you need to know some of the Comrail stuff too, because people will walk up to your armory and ask you all sorts of random stuff, and that can get you in trouble if you do the wrong thing.
There you go. So training points. The stuff's out there on the web. It's easy to get to. It's not on the .mil network per se. You can get to it from home. You can check out stuff there. And, of course, if you got any questions about Comrail, then obviously now we know the office and the person at least get you in the right direction.
And the website has the email that is a mass list for everyone who gets Comrail requests, not just me.
So once again, sir, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
You got anything else, Baker?
No, but you weren't here earlier to know what the outro is. So sorry guys, we're gonna see behind the scenes stuff right now.
Okay.
Unless we just cut this out.
No, go ahead. We'll leave it in.
Okay.
This is the real world.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's the outro?
This is the outro. You want to see so you can do it next time?
Yeah, let's go.
It's that extra planning stuff we were talking about. That people
We didn't plan this part.
That's because you had other things.
That's
going
why
on.
this is
Bring a
entertaining.
captain and there's no real plan there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.